good coaches who put in the work, put in the time, good players who put in the work, put in the time to get to a situation where you learn how to focus. Quarterbacks, parents, coaches, family members, we all at some point learn how to starve distractions and feed our focus. And it's funny, this year in the midst of COVID, in the midst of all the things that I thought, when I went to Pitt, had no idea what would happen as far as being a quarterback, ended up playing quarterback, receiver, linebacker, safety, driving the team bus, washing clothes. I think I did about everything you could do at the University of Pittsburgh. But God allowed me to write a book in this season called Focus, Feeding Ourselves Confidence Under Stress. And I know you guys, this is a great event, award, Willie Thrower, but I want you guys to think about what habits that you can instill each and every day, not just in your sport, but now that you young men have a platform. Look at your coaches. Look at the people around you. Look at your family members. What's going to lead to a routine that other people will follow? And right now, there's a lot of issues in our world outside of sports. Just like workforce. It's something that has been an initiative and a drive for mine since I've got out of coaching. We have a retiring workforce. Guys with soft skills showing up on time. Think about what you can do to be an inspiration to people in your communities. How can you change our ecosystems in some of these places? About what you learn every single day that you don't realize. Showing up. You ask a coach, do we want a talented player? I guarantee you ask every coach in here, do we want a talented player? He'll say, I take consistency over talent any day. Out of 10 plays, give me a guy who's going to get it right 10 times. Not a guy get it right 2 times and mess up the other 8. That puts us in bad situations, right? So I just want to thank pioneers like Mr. Thrower, who, me being a young quarterback at the University of Pittsburgh, I didn't know a lot of things. I was just talented and had drive and passion. I can't imagine the type of things he had to endure. I can't imagine the type of conversations that was had around him. I can't imagine the type of things he had to overcome. I can't imagine the type of distractions he had to look past so he can feed his focus on success. It's hard enough going against the other 11 men on your team, but when sometimes the battle is mentally, it's a whole different ball game. So I stand here before you not because I'm just 6'5", 280 now. I'm a little out of shape, right? But I stand here before you because in the midst of adversity, in the midst of setbacks, in the midst of failing and failing and failing and never losing ambition, God gave me an opportunity. That's right. In the midst of the opportunity, it led to pioneering through something. And most of you young men will understand when you're a pioneer, when you go into the NFL as a quarterback and play 10 years as a tight end. I don't even think Tim Tebow was able to do that, right? Sorry. No hate, no shade on anybody who liked Tim Tebow. But to be able to hold a Super Bowl ring and be able to be a part of a Super Bowl team means that you got to overcome extreme adversity. So understand when adversity is coming in your life, don't look at it as an opportunity to complain. Look at it as an opportunity to get better. That God is in season making you better. Because at the end of this all, it's about Hebrews 12 and 11. Discipline, though it's tough at its teaching, produces a harvest of righteousness and peace by those who have been trained by it. Thank you again for allowing me to speak, man. God bless you all. Congratulations to all the candidates for this award. Thank you, Willie Thrower and all this organization for what he has done to leave a generation that can come up and learn and inspire one another by all the obstacles they overcome. Thank you guys so much. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Darnell. Well, to begin today's program leading up to the issuance of the second annual Willie Thrower Trophy, as you see in front of me, the recipient will be able to keep this forever, kind of like the Heisman Trophy. This was sculpted by Stephen Polovich, 1979 graduate of Valley High School, who also was the sculptor for the Willie Thrower statue itself, which you young guys had the experience of being near earlier this morning. So to begin our formal program, let's call on Don Hall, the head coach and athletic director of Gateway High School, to introduce his quarterback. Coach.
Well, today is a celebration of greatness. Starting with the greatness here at the main table, we have a four-time NFL Super Bowl champion. Just think of how few people could make a claim like that in Mr. J.T. Thomas. We have not only a state champion coach this year, but an NFL National Coach of the Year in Bob Palco, who is a dear friend and probably the best to do it in our area, and clearly recognized by the rest of the country. Greatness. We have 5 great quarterbacks here today who had great success on the field and in their communities, and then certainly all the distinguished guests and all the greatness in the room. So it's an honor to be part of that greatness, an honor to be part of this celebration. Quickly, I want to tell you, though, about another celebration. Funny story, we were playing our last game of the year in regular season and coming back from Franklin Regional, not a very long trip back to Gateway. And on the bus, we're about to turn into Gateway, and there's a kind of a roar from the back of the bus. And we won that night, so I thought maybe they were still celebrating, but it was kind of unusual that they waited so long to cheer like that. So I kind of wandered back to the back, and I said, guys, what's going on? They said, Coach, we finished this puzzle. I'm like, what are you talking about? They're like, yeah, we finished it in just this season, one season. I'm like, okay, well, what's so big about that? They said, well, check out the box. It says 3 to 5 years. All right. All right. That was my shot at lighting the mood. All right. Anyway, all that being said, again, among the great quarterbacks with us today is our quarterback from Gateway, Brad Birch. And Brad was here last year after a freshman year in which he led his team to the Whitfield Championship, and then joined us at Gateway, and this year had a phenomenal year for us. He led the entire Whitfield in passing yardage. He led us to the playoffs at Gateway as well. Over the 2 years of time, Brad's really in some rarefied air as far as statistics. He's got over 60 passing touchdowns, as well as 10 rushing touchdowns. He's got over 4,000 passing yards. And at the end of the day, we're looking at a guy who's going to have a career that rivals all of the great quarterbacks that have spent time in the Whitfield. And again, as we celebrate the greatness of the event, and we talk about not only the people I mentioned at the beginning, but clearly the focus today on the great quarterback Willie Thrower, who was a Whitfield champion and an NCAA national champion and played in the NFL. Whoever wins this award is going to join again a fraternity of great quarterbacks started last year with Cole Spencer from Pine Richland, and join a long list that I'm sure is going to be an amazing list when all is said and done. So without any further ado, let me bring up our quarterback, Brad Birch.
My name is Brad Birch, and I'm a sophomore quarterback at Gateway High School. I want to say thank you and how proud I am to be invited back to the Willie Thrower Award for the second year in a row. And I want to thank the Willie Thrower family and those voted for the award. I would also like to thank my coaches and my family for all the years and patience throughout the year. Also, thanks to my offensive line and receivers. We learned a lot last year about the Willie Thrower and his legacy. He blazed a trail that is still very much appreciated today. And last season we moved from 1A to 5A. That was a very challenging year. Learned 3 different offenses in the last 3 years. I would like to thank again my coaches and his patience for my years and his support. I would really like to give a special thanks to all my QE coaches that have been helping me. Coach Hall, Greg McGee, and Adam DeMichael. This season was a special year because it was last season. I would get to play with my brother, and I would like to thank him for all the support that he's given me throughout the years. And good luck to all the rest of the finalists. I have been watching y'all this year, had a great season, and thank you for just having me here and just be in the race for the award. And thank you for just the Willie Thrower family for having me here.
Thank you so much, Brad. As you got the chance to see Brad's huddle, thank you so much. Next, I'd like to call on Coach Nick Nardone of one of the top football programs in the history of the WPIAL that he's taken over successfully. Let's now bring on Nick Nardone, head football coach at Beaver Falls High School.
Thank you, Mr. Guido. I kind of want to reiterate what Coach Hall said and just thank the Willie Thrower organization, the Willie Thrower family for recognizing our quarterback, Jaron Brickner, and the great achievements that he achieved this year. I want to congratulate all the nominees, well-deserved, great seasons, very impressive to look at the numbers and the statistics of what these young men were able to achieve. It's very impressive. But I've had the pleasure of coaching Jaron for the past 3 seasons at Beaver Falls. As a freshman, Jaron earned the starting position, beating out 2 upperclassmen for the job and leading our team to the playoffs as a freshman. Since then, he's participated in 2 WPIAL championship games, winning the WPIAL championship his sophomore season. Throughout his years at Beaver Falls, Jaron has been the ultimate team player. In his first 2 seasons, our offense relied heavily on our run game. And during that time, Jaron developed an understanding of the game, doing a tremendous job reading defenses and checking runs at the line. But when he was given the opportunity this year, his junior year, he demonstrated tremendous accuracy, poise, flashed amazing athleticism, extending plays with his feet, and he never complained during those first couple of years, even though, like I said, we were a very run-heavy team. But this past season, Jaron's patience finally paid off, and we revamped the offense around him and our throwing game. As a junior, he threw for 2,579 yards and 25 touchdowns. He added 428 rushing yards and 9 rushing touchdowns this year. For his efforts, Jaron was awarded all-conference and all-state honors as a quarterback. Our staff is extremely proud of what Jaron's accomplished so far, and we're extremely excited about what he can accomplish next year in his senior year and in his future in college. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce Willie Thrower nominee, Jaron Brickner.
Honestly, I did not prepare a speech, so make this short and sweet. I'd like to thank the Willie Thrower Award family for having me nominated, and thank my family and friends and my coach for always being there for me and keep me in focus where I need to be. Good luck to all the nominees that are here. They're all great quarterbacks, definitely some of the top best in the WPIAL. Thank you, everybody that's here today to support all of us. You guys mean well to all of us. Have a great night.
Well, that was pretty good, Jaron. That's the way we like it, right from the heart there. As you watch his video highlights, Beaver Falls, you may or may not know, play their home games at Geneva College's Reeve Stadium up in Beaver Falls. And he's had quite a career thus far, and he'll be back for his senior year. I do want to mention, while we watch the remainder of Jaron's highlight clips, that we had 30 quarterbacks nominated among the WPIAL, 28 from the WPIAL and 2 from the City League. And we describe how we come about choosing our final 5 quarterbacks here in the program, if you'd want to read that if you're not familiar with it. But we have a sort of an intricate setup, 2 coaches from each of the 18 WPIAL football conferences and the Pittsburgh City League, and we think for the last 2 years we have really gotten, as far as the numbers go and the voting totals, a good consensus of the top 5 quarterbacks. All right. One Sunday up in February, my wife and I are eating up at the Longwood Steakhouse there at the Mills Mall, and we could see across from there in the bar, the Pro Bowl was on TV. And I happened to say that, boy, that guy on TV looks like Coach Bob Pelko from Mount Lebanon, but what would he be doing at the Pro Bowl? And my wife says, well, does he have any former players there? And I said, no, I can't think of anybody there from either West Allegheny or Mount Lebanon. And didn't think much of it. And then a couple minutes later, I looked up and I said, boy, that guy really looks like Coach Pelko. And then by the time we left the restaurant, the social media was blowing up and talking about Coach Pelko being named the National Coach of the Year. So let us now call on the man who looks like Coach Bob Pelko.
Thank you very much for that introduction. But the only reason you get in that position as a coach, and and I'm fortunate, is to go 15-0, win the state championship, and you do it with a bunch of really good kids and a bunch of really good coaches. I'd like to also thank the Willie Thrower family, the foundation, and the committee for having put this event on. For me, growing up in Western Pennsylvania, and myself being a quarterback, and then having a son that played quarterback in the NFL, it was very interesting to read about Willie Thrower and what he actually did for our game, and for Western Pennsylvania, and it was just a really cool thing to find out about that. So thank you very much. I'd like to welcome the parents and all the athletes here today. Joey couldn't be here today. He's at the Big 30. He's got elected to the Big 33 game, so they have practice today. And so his pops is here with us, and then also our quarterback coach, Alex Dennison. So thank you guys for coming. Talking about Joey, and he was the only quarterback that we had at my 3 years at Mount Lebanon. So it's going to be hard to get on and move to the next person, especially knowing how consistent Joey was at that position. He was the ultimate field general for us. And he was responsible for distributing the ball to all our playmakers, and it was but if he was here, he would talk to you about his teammates. He wouldn't talk about himself. He would talk to you about how important his O-line was to him. And it's funny because you look at and you watch someone like that grow up. I mean, like I was over his house this summer, and I finally realized that where all the footballs were that I thought people were taking, there was like 30 of them at his house because he was constantly throwing footballs in the nets. And so that's the good thing is I get them 30 balls back now. So I appreciate that. But again, Joey checks all the boxes when it comes to playing quarterback. I mean, unbelievable leadership skills. He leads by example. Is a man of very few words. But when he talks, the kids listen because they know he knows what he's talking about. He's athletic. He improved his footwork. And something that's really hard to do as a high school kid is have accuracy, and his accuracy is really and truly as good as I've seen from a high school quarterback. I think the thing that he improved on was his anticipation and learning how to throw to open windows instead of just to open receivers. His pocket presence was really and truly remarkable, but the thing that I think made him different than a lot of the other kids that I've coached is his decision making. And so we're going to miss him. Throw for a lot. I mean, you can see how many yards he threw for. I mean, it's really remarkable. And we were just talking, Coach Dennison, he only played one full game, and that was the state championship game. So he was out of most games and still threw for, 2,500, whatever he did. It was lots of yards, lots of touchdowns, and it was an unbelievable really and truly an unbelievable person to lead this team and to be in the special place that we are. So once again, he's not here today. So you have a video. Oh, okay, good. So I guess you get to see the video. Joey Daniels.
One thing that's significant, Mount Lebanon beat St. Joseph's Prep of Philadelphia, and they're just not an ordinary high school team. St. Joe's Prep has kids from 4 states playing on their team. Those yellow uniforms are really distinctive, are they not?
I'm Joey Daniels, and I play quarterback at Mount Lebanon High School. I'd like to first thank the Willie Thrower Foundation and the Thrower family for organizing today's event and continuing to preserve the legacy of Mr. Thrower's trailblazing story. I'm sorry I could not be there with you all today. I would like to congratulate all the finalists. It has been a privilege to watch your clips and read your Friday night stat lines on Saturday mornings. I would like to also thank all my teammates and coaches. My nomination for this award and success over these last 3 years would not be possible without you. Thank you to my OC and QB coach, Coach Spieler and Coach Dennison. I'd also like to thank my QB trainer, Greg McGee. Your unconditional support means a lot to me. I'd also like to thank Coach Palco. You showed me how to prepare for games and how to lead a team. I'm so appreciative you took a chance on me and trusted me to lead this team 3 years ago. It seems like just yesterday, I was that little sophomore just trying to earn a spot. Thank you for everything, Coach Palco. I'd also like to thank my family for your support and unconditional love. It has meant everything to me through my football career. Thank you to the Willie Thrower Foundation and family. Thank you for sharing his trailblazing story and memorializing him with this award. I can't imagine the amount of pressure and scrutiny he experienced. His journey of overcoming adversity is truly inspirational to me, and I am humbled and honored to have been considered for this prestigious award. Thank you all again for this tremendous honor. Again, I am humbled and honored to have been considered for this prestigious award and to have gotten to know Mr. Thrower's story along the way. Thank you.
Well, thanks to Joey and Mr. Daniels. Please thank him for us addressing the crowd here today. Well, next up, well-known coach who is really in love with these red blazers that we have. We can't say enough about him. So let's bring on the only coach that Armstrong High School has ever had and has done a great job, Mr. Frank Fabian.
Good afternoon.
I also did not prepare a speech, but I wrote a couple things down. I want to thank you, the Willie Thrower Memorial Committee, for an awesome event. Also, I think that's the best trophy that I've ever seen at a high school event. Got a chance to see that down there at the pictures down by the high school, and really awesome trophy that someone's going to be taking home. I think this is a great idea. With all due respect to all the offensive line coaches in the room, I think we can agree that quarterback's probably the most important position in all of sports. There's a reason those quarterbacks are getting $50 million a year now, because there's not many that can do that job. And I think it's awesome to have an event like this that recognizes the top quarterbacks in the WPIL. Congratulations to the other nominees in being associated with a man as inspiring as Mr. Thrower is and has been with his journey. To understand our situation and introduce Caden, I think I have to go back to a couple years ago. We are not a traditional blue blood program in the WPIL. We have declining enrollment in our district, and we kind of go through some peaks and valleys. And 2 years ago, we were a 1-8 football team. Our team was not very good. We couldn't play dead in the Western. I was probably one of the few coaches in Pennsylvania when they were talking about not having a season that might have been okay with it, because there was not a lot of optimism in our program. And our equipment manager at the time, COVID hit, and we weren't allowed around our kids from November to July. He kept telling me the freshman quarterback who had a high-pitched voice. You should see him. He's working hard. He's a friend of the family, and he was working out, and he's a different player. And July opened up, and we were allowed back around the players, and that 5'10", high-pitched freshman was a 6'3" gunslinger. And we because of our first couple workouts, we had to go back and change our entire offense. Because this is the guy that we're going to build the whole thing around, and it's probably the smartest decision I ever made. Fast forward to this year, we were playing for a conference championship, came up with a 2-point conversion shy of winning that. We won our first playoff game in school history. He ended the year 2,500 yards passing, 28 touchdowns. Ran for 830 yards and 16 touchdowns. So over 3,000 yards of total offense, 44 touchdowns. He caught 1 touchdown. He would like me to tell you that as well. And for all those things, the last thing I want to mention is what type of person he is off the field. He's a 4.3 GPA. Takes a rigorous schedule. He comes through my line in the metal detector. I pull out textbooks that I can't even pronounce the names of the classes. He comes into the weight room. He was a basketball player. On days that he had games and he could not lift, he would come into the weight room and clear the bars off for the 9th graders. He actually made the homecoming court and then declined it because he wanted someone else to have the opportunity. He has 5 siblings. The good news for me, 4 of them are brothers, so hopefully they are just as athletic as he is, so that's a good thing. He's a tremendous young man. My honor to introduce Caden Olson. He also has aspirations to be a doctor, and he had a video the other day we were lifting in the weight room, and he told me he had to cut out because he had to take a video conference. And I said, "Who are you conferencing with?" He said, "The University of Harvard was on the video conference." So.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to start off by thanking the staff, committee, and family that has selected me for this great opportunity. I'm very grateful to come out here this afternoon and be a finalist for this outstanding and honoring award. I'd also like to congratulate Brad, Jaron, Joey, and Devin for being selected as a finalist for this year's Willie Thrower Award as well. Now, when my journey first started 5 years ago, I never would have imagined that I would be in the spot I am today. I never played youth football growing up, and I had no experience with the sport other than tossing football around in the backyard. On top of that, splitting receiver reps with an 8th grader on the middle school team is the complete opposite of how you expect a quarterback to grow up. Following my 7th grade year, I decided that I would try and play quarterback. However, there was already a kid there that had been playing for a number of years. During my freshman year, I certainly wasn't the strongest, quickest, or most athletic kid on the team. In fact, I was probably one of the weakest kids and definitely the youngest one out there. However, the next year was when I really decided it was time to start working. Now, everyone could say that COVID caused massive problems and lots of trouble, which I completely agree with, but it was also one of the best things that happened for me. Giving me that free time allowed me to work my tail off that summer, throwing, lifting, and working out just about every day. It was my time to shine. My sophomore year, I beat out our previous starter, who was a senior. He moved to receiver, and we formed a connection that you don't get to see too many other places. That year, I was an all-state quarterback, the 2020 Whippeal passing leader. I broke every single season passing record at Armstrong, and in my first ever high school game, I threw for 396 yards. This past year, I earned a spot of being a team captain, and am grateful enough to say that I led our team to the first playoff win in school history. There have been so many ups and downs over those years, and to get to this point has been a long, time-consuming, and very stressful ride. Following that, I must thank everyone for contributing and helping me get to where I am today. I'd like to thank Coach Fabian and the rest of the coaching staff, and most importantly, my teammates, for pushing me to get better every day. Coach has taught me so many things over the past 3 years that otherwise I would never come close to learning and wouldn't be the person I am today without him. I would also like to thank my family for everything they have done. There have been so many sacrifices for me over the years that I couldn't be where I am today without them. They've given up weekends to travel all over the country and spend time away from the family in order for me to get better and take advantage of every opportunity that I get. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Caden. And now our final of the 5 finalist quarterbacks we have here today could not be with us today. He is also at the Big 33. I'm referring to Devin Whitlock of Bell Vernon. Not only is Devin there, but his coach, Matt Humbert, is also with him up at State College for the Big 33 practice this afternoon. So with that in mind, I would like to call on the defensive coordinator of the very successful Bell Vernon Area High School program, Mr. Brent Barish.
Good afternoon. It's truly an honor to be here today. I'd like to thank the Thrower family and the nomination committee for nominating Devin. Like Coach Fabian, found out Monday I would be accompanying Dev's parents here, and I found out Thursday I'd be speaking. So with that being said, Dev is at practice today. Dev's been an anchor for our team for the past 3 years. He's the epitome of playing with a slow heartbeat. He's one of the most gritty and edgy players I've ever coached, and I mean that. Dev's just, when they talk about the it factor and special kids, that's Devin. I mean, those that we played against know what I'm talking about. He's a household name. He gets a lot of exposure and notoriety, but he never puts himself above anybody. He's a very humble, coachable, and understanding player. Yes, sir, no, sir type of kid. He is a leader and a competitor, and he's very worthy of this nomination, and he's a great representation of a tough and gritty Westmoreland County quarterback. Congratulations to all the nominations, and I truly am honored to be here. Thank you very much.
By the way, there's nothing the matter with the screen here. Bell Vernon, if you don't know, actually has a yellow tinted football field called the Beach.
My name is Devin Whitlock, and I played quarterback for the Bell Vernon area Leopards over the past 2 seasons, leading my team to 2 Whitfield Championship appearances in 2019 and 21, as well as securing 2 conference champions. I'm beyond appreciative and excited to be a finalist for the prestigious Willie Thrower Award. It's a special recognition to be nominated in Willie's honor, seeing he was the first NFL African-American quarterback, and he grew up in southwestern Pennsylvania. Me and Willie both share a common bond by playing quarterback for Westmoreland County area schools. I would like to thank the Willie Thrower Committee and all the people associated with this award. I would also like to thank the Bell Vernon area fan base and school district for their support. I would especially like to thank my parents, Christine and Devin, my brother and sisters, teammates, and football coaches, notably Coach Matt Humbert and Coach Brett Barish. Thank you.
Boy, as a defensive coordinator, Coach Barish, aren't you glad you didn't have to try to figure out a way to stop him like the other teams did? And thanks to Devin's parents, too. Thank him for his fine video address. We'll talk about timing being everything. When Amy Schoeneman took over as executive director of the WPIAL, it was just in time for the COVID crisis, so made her difficult job even more difficult. But we can be thankful as things move on now that the WPIAL Board of Directors and the WPIAL in general has led us to what is becoming a return to normalcy, I'm sure, which we all welcome. So let's call on now the executive director of the WPIAL, Amy Schoeneman.
Good afternoon. I apologize in advance for my voice, but I will try to get through this as best I can that you can understand as well. First, I know it's been said every time, and there is no lack of appreciation, but thank you to the Willie Thrower family and the Willie Thrower Committee for taking on this important initiative to recognize student athletes and preserve the quarterback position in honor of Willie Thrower. And I think it is only fitting that it is in honor of him as a representative of Western Pennsylvania. So thank you for all that you've done, and thank you for inviting me to speak here today. The history of the WPIAL is full of great quarterbacks, as we all know. Dan Marino, Joe Montana, Johnny Unitas, Joe Namath. You have these names that, had this award been acknowledged then, they would be a part of this group. It is a fine and prestigious group of people who have come out of Western Pennsylvania as quarterbacks. Of course, that recognition should not be taken lightly, and the quarterback position is a special position. As mentioned earlier, it's probably one of the most important positions in all of sports. That's because that person is the leader. They are the general on the field. They have to set a good example, always be in control. I try to relate to those, and I know there's only 3 of you here, but to those, a recent comparison I would say is maybe not Western Pennsylvania, but we'll say close enough, right? A Cleveland or a Ohio native in Joe Burrow. He set a great example for his team. He exemplified 4 criteria that I think are important for you folks to remember and recognize. He always acknowledges those who have helped him get to where he is. He did that by always thanking his family, putting his family first and foremost in his thank yous. He appreciates his coaches. He acknowledges his coaches. Those of you who didn't know that, he made it to the Super Bowl, and who did he call to invite back? His high school football coach, because he knew where he came from, and he wouldn't be where he was without him. So I think that speaks volumes of his acknowledgement of those around him. And of course, the teammates. Those, again, the offensive lineman, his defense that, will help him keep him in games, and also his receivers. So again, that's something to consider whenever you are leading your team, to always acknowledge those who have helped you get to where you are. He also talked about working hard in private and let your results show in public. It's not about showing how hard you work, it's about proving how hard you work. So you do that in private and make sure that, again, those in this room are all underclassmen. So the job is on you now to work hard and continue to be recognized in this position. But that is done in private, and then those results show in public. Something that I know a lot of us are thankful we didn't have to deal with as athletes growing up is social media. And those in this room that are acknowledging this award, you do have to deal with that. And it's something that is real. And I make sure that you guys use that for good and not for bad. So again, it's out there. It is very visible. Make sure that you're a good representation of your school, your family, and your community on social media for good. And then also being that leader that everybody wants to see. And that's something George mentioned earlier. Part of the criteria for this award, it is in your program, but I'm going to read some of these things that those who have selected you for this award saw in you. That you clearly are a difference maker for your team on the field. That you rise to the occasion when your squad really needs it most. That you're mentally and physically strong. You want to win the game, but more importantly, you hate to lose. You possess an exemplary work ethic. And then the last, but certainly not the least, is you set the bar for your team in demonstrating good sportsmanship. There are far too many examples of bad sportsmanship, and we need good leaders to make sure that those examples are set and people follow you. Willie Thrower is not just being recognized and remembered because he was a good football player, but he was a good person. And that is something that we want to instill in our student athletes across the WPL, and you 3 here in particular have the opportunity to do that in a very prominent role. And we just want to encourage you to not only exemplify what Willie Thrower did on the field, but off the field as well. Make sure that you never know what tomorrow brings, so give it your best every day. Enjoy this moment, but work hard to be here again and to be a good example for those who are following you. Use football as an avenue to be a leader and to be a representative of what's good in sports. And again, you guys hopefully will be here next year, but if you're not, and this is the last time you hear from me, make sure that when you go off into college, I'm sure you'll all be very successful in whatever you choose. Remember where you came from, and remember those who helped you to get there. Congratulations and best wishes.
Thank you very much, Amy. And I want to thank Bill Neal also for facilitating us getting the Pittsburgh Courier with Willie Thrower on the front page. That is a keepsake, so don't lose it. Thank you so much. Well, we talk about trailblazers all the time with Willie. We do have another trailblazer with us today. J.T. Thomas, first-round draft choice of the Pittsburgh Steelers out of Florida State in 1973. He was the first African-American football player at Florida State University, breaking a barrier there, but also, perhaps more important, he was the first African-American graduate of Florida State University at a time when that was unheard of up until the point it happened. Thomas grew up in Macon, Georgia, started as a cornerback for the Steelers opposite Mel Blount, He overcame a blood disorder that threatened to curtail his NFL career, but he returned to the Steelers and played into the 1980s. And has been the case with many athletes from Pittsburgh who played pro ball here but did not grow up here. Mr. Thomas decided to settle into our region after his playing days and has become a successful businessman and restaurateur. So let's introduce now our keynote speaker for this afternoon. From the Pittsburgh Steelers Super Bowl years, here is J.T. Thomas.
Thank you very much. It's indeed an honor to be here, and I'll try to be brief. About an hour and a half? That's brief. Only kidding. First, I'd like to thank the foundation here as well as the Willie Thrower Committee. I'd like to acknowledge the Willie Thrower's family, especially Mrs. Thrower. It was indeed a pleasure meeting you and having an early conversation with you. Also, give kudos out to these great quarterbacks, and I'd like to acknowledge our distinguished guests. I'd like to thank my teammate, Dwayne Woodruff, the Honorable Judge Dwayne Woodruff. I have a lot of stories about him. I'll tell just one, okay? When Dwayne first arrived, Mel Blunt and I was very concerned about Dwayne. He was sitting between us once, and when he first arrived, he was putting on his shoes, and Mel looked at me and said, look at his feet. He motioned down to his feet, and we looked at him, and he got up and left, and Mel said, did you notice that his shoes were about 2 or 3 inches longer than ours? And Mel said, you think he can run? I said, I don't know. Found out that Dwayne Woodruff was that year the fastest guy on the team. Now, we all ran 4.4s, but we decided to call him Sasquatch or Bigfoot at the time. Like I said, he was the fastest guy on our team and just an amazing athlete, but I'll note that speed. Mel and Blunt and I we're both from Georgia, and what the difference was that our police speed was better than his police speed. So we had an edge on him there. But anyway, again, it's an honor to be here. And I think the question that I'm asking here, and I'm asking Willie this, is, Willie Thrower, what made you so strong, Willie? I need to know. They need to know. Willie Thrower was a true pioneer. Most of us view life through our own experience and probably through our own orientations. But for a moment, let us see if we can venture down the path that Willie went down in his life. Let's view his world as a young, talented athlete eager to fulfill his dream and his aspirations. Imagine, I ran track in college, and one of the toughest races is a 400-meter relay. And one of the toughest leg is that first leg. And when you look at Willie, he ran the first leg of this race, and there's a baton that he's passing off. And often we run through life not realizing where that baton started at. We just got our baton running our leg of the race. And I think it's very important for us to understand, the legacy of Willie Thrower. I've been very cognizant of because of my lifestyle growing up in the South, growing up in segregation, growing up in Jim Crow. Now Willie, as a high school standout, amassed a record of 35, 3-1. That is awesome. But due to his ethnicity, he was ignored in all major colleges in terms of an athletic scholarship. There was no avenue for him to excel. This was also a time when white universities did not recruit blacks at all in the South, and very few in the North. So imagine coming out of high school as a great athlete with all these talents here, and there's no place to go. This was in 1949, and you have to understand the nature of the environment here was segregation and discrimination were part of the tenets. They were legal tenets. You could actually discriminate. And that's what Willie had to deal with. To give some perspective, This is in 1969, okay? I mean 49 when Willie entered college. But in 1969, when I entered college, I was dealing with the same things that he was dealing with. And, I wonder a lot of times in terms of this area here, as a walk-on on Michigan State football team in the Big Ten, what was his life like? Imagine playing on a team where this is not written, but let's say when they travel south, ask the question, where did Willie stay at? He didn't stay with the team. Where did he eat? He didn't eat at the restaurants because he wasn't allowed in the restaurants. On these bus trips that he had, and as you drive by, you're reading these signs that says, white only, no color allowed. Imagine as a young man trying to excel, and you really feel like, for lack of a better analogy, this is the best way I can come up with, he's the fly in a bowl of milk. And everything is coming at him, this pressure, but also the pressure just to be an athlete. Willie's on the team, and you have to ask the question, does he feel the camaraderie of a team? I'll share one experience with you. I played in the first Fiesta Bowl, and when I went to Florida State, they brought in 4 of the African Americans, but I was first one to play there. And this past October, we went down to a reunion of the first Fiesta Bowl, Florida State against Arizona State. We played them in a great game with nothing but speed. But what happened when I returned to this reunion here, the 4 of us were there. There's only 4 guys in the picture. Imagine a team with only 4 black guys on today. But the interesting thing about it was this, is that was the first time that we felt team camaraderie. And the interesting thing that most of my teammates, there were about 10 guys that were cool, but the majority of them, they were trying to make up 50 years of getting to know us. They knew of us, but they didn't know us. And it was amazing that weekend, the amount of hugging, the kissing going on, trying to make up an era or time that you missed. Because we were there on the team, but not a part of that team. And the thing about it, 2 of my teammates got up, my white teammates. One was a doctor. He said, after I have retired and delivered 5,000 babies, he said, I realized that our parents raised us wrong. He's talking to the group. And one of the guys, a wide receiver there, also from Georgia, he made the comment about the experience. He said to us 4 blacks with all these guys, he said, if we would have gotten to know you guys better, we would have been better. And I say that in terms of reflecting back on Willie's journey through this process here. Did he feel that team camaraderie or not? You're part of the team, but you're not part of the team. Imagine you're always perceived as an intrusion of the natural order, especially at quarterback. There was 3 racial stereotypes regarding African Americans quarterbacks during this era. And they were, if you were black, you could not think, you could not throw, and you could not lead. And that's what Willie was dealing with. Even when I came into the league in 1933, there existed what we call the white middle. Now, some of you guys know nothing about the white middle. And this was the position on the team that were restricted. And they were right in the middle of the field. Quarterback, center, middle linebacker, free safeties, and strong safety. Blacks were not allowed in those positions because they were considered as the intellectual or the cerebral positions to play. Who confirmed that to me was Bob Hayes, former Dallas Cowboy, world fastest human, and Herb Adderley from the Green Bay Packers. And I said, is there a white middle? He said, yeah. He said, the game is, if you're a quarterback, they redesign, retrofit you to a cornerback. And what happened, the blacks beat out each other, okay? And this is the system that Willie had even 20 years before me that I'm dealing with. So you have to think about the price that he paid. And like I say, I've known a Willie Thrower for years and wondered myself because I was in, a similar situation. So the question is, Willie Thrower, what made you so strong? They ridiculed you, they ignored you, they denied you, discriminated against you, but you never threw in the towel. I mean, he never quit. What made you so strong? I want to know. You young men want to know. I think all of us want to know what made you so strong. Well, based on his legacy, and I always say that there's only two reasons why things happen. God's reason and everybody else's reason, what it goes down to. Well, I think Willie had what we call daring faith that sustained him. Now, this is not the faith that we gauge in routinely to, eliminate anxiety from everyday life. For instance, when you sat down in those chairs, you didn't think about the chair. You had faith that it would be there. When Bill Neal put that piece of chicken in his mouth, he didn't worry about it. Is it spoiled or rotten or bad? He had that normal faith to that. It was great. But what I'm saying here is that there are many kinds of faith. And the kind of faith that Willie had, what we call is daring faith. It allows one to overcome challenges that appear insurmountable. It was daring faith that allowed Willie Thrower to persevere in spite of the challenges. So what is daring faith? I use an acronym because I'm kind of slow, so in order to identify stuff, I have to denote it to animals or things in nature. But daring faith, the acronym I use is BOGPTT. Being a musician, you could rap that, BOGPTT. I'm not going to do that for you. But that's the acronym. So what does the B stand for? And this is what I'm convinced that Willie had in order to make it and sustain and to carry his baton. The B is believing when you don't see it. So I'm sure a lot of times he didn't see the path. He didn't see what was going on. He didn't understand why he was there at times. The O is obeying when you don't understand. I'm sure a lot of things he didn't understand that he had to obey and actually adhere to. The G is giving when you don't have it. And that's tough. And that's what athletes are called to do. I'm sure a lot of you athletes have been in situations where you don't have it, but you give anyway. The P is persevering when everything around you say quit. You've been in a situation, say quit, I can't make it anymore. I can imagine Willie Thrower in the situation he was in that era of Jim Crow discrimination, where he didn't want to persevere any longer. But if he had, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have had a baton to carry on my leg of the race. The T, and because of success, and he was a religious man, part of his faith was that T is thanking God before he got it. You can't wait until you go to the Super Bowl to win it. You win it before you go to the Super Bowl. Another T is trusting God when you don't get it. Because a lot of time, it doesn't go your way. It doesn't fall in your way. And so basically, you're talking about believing, you're talking about obeying, you're talking about giving, persevering, and thanking God before you get it, but trusting God if you don't get it. And imagine the amount of trust he had to, resurrect within himself in order to do what he did. It is awesome. Daring faith is a winning faith that will keep you, it will preserve you, it will promote you, it will actually deliver you. Daring faith is not just a feeling or a belief. Daring faith got feet. Don't tell me you got faith you ain't moving. You're running your mouth. And we see the daring faith that Willie Thrower had to exhibit. I probably see it more than you because I grew up in the South, I grew up in segregation, I grew up in Jim Crow. And there's very little difference in that time. We've only been integrated for 55 years. So basically, but think about the legacy here that Willie has set for us here. Okay, Willie's life and legacy reflects the heart of a champion, but more so, it's the epitome of authentic manhood. It's what a man is really about. And I think right now, athletes they make millions of dollars. I think he signed for $8,000 a year in his contract. But think about you being a recipient, a beneficiary of a legacy, but also of the faith that was in the baton that he passed on to you. So what made Willie Thrower so strong? It was his faith. He had a daring faith. And you young man, I think you have a great platform. And Amy said earlier in terms of social media, to leverage what you have. It's about others, it's not about you. Don't live in your own world. Pass that baton on to other young people. Share it. And don't just take life for granted. Like I say, if it wasn't for Willie Thrower, I wouldn't be, and you wouldn't be here. I mean, there's deficits. Things are not right here, but I think you are blessed as athletes to make an impression, and not just as an athlete in the record book, but what do you do for someone else? In other words, life is about not what you are comfortable, but what you do for others. And I challenge you all, in a daring faith, and let's keep this legacy alive, and let's think about Willie Thrower. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, J.T. Thomas. It's a pleasure having you here today. And let's now, the moment we're waiting for. Jimmy Santarella will remove the tape, and I'll read off the names, first of all, of our 4 finalists. And obviously, the finalist that isn't named will be the person taking home the trophy in front of me. Devin Whitlock. Come on up. Next, Joey Daniels. Next is Brad Birch. And next is Jaron Bruckner. Jaron. And that means the winner of the 2nd annual Willie Thrower Award is Caden Olson.
First of all, I have to say thank you again to the committee for selecting me for this outstanding award. I'm very grateful to be selected, and I obviously couldn't have done it without the rest of my team and Coach Fabian and the rest of the coaching staff. With that being said, I just want to say thanks again, and everyone have a great night.
All right. Woo!
All right, the quarterbacks that are here, if you'd please meet with our photographer over to the side and be available for the media afterwards. And other than that, thank you so much for coming. BB? Oh, come on up.
Our honoree would like to have this.
Certainly. Oh, by all means, yes.
Yes, right. Hi, my name's Charlie Schliebs, and I am thrilled to be here for this truly momentous and significant event. I happen to be the chairman of the Huddle Up for Kids Foundation, which is a 501c3 foundation designed to utilize NFL veterans, retired NFL players, in charitable activities to raise money for children. That's what we do, and we have a lot of fun doing it. A lot of great times, and a lot of wonderful people. And so we were told about this event, and our CEO and president, Todd Kalis, who would be here, and I get to be as chairman. I get to substitute for him. Todd is a very devoted father, and he's got his kids in travel tournaments today in West Virginia. But Todd is a very serious student of pro football and college football history, and is very familiar with Willie Thrower and all he stands for. And as a foundation, we especially focus on historical disparities that we've had to see over all these years. And Willie Thrower is an amazing success story, but at the same time, a window on a period in this country that many of us want to make sure we fix permanently. And I have to tell you, unfortunately, it's not completely fixed at all yet. And this award and this event should stand as a reminder to all of us, not just in sports and football, but across the board, that the unattractive history of the Jim Crow era needs to be completely stomped out. On a more pleasant note, I am pleased, on behalf of the Huddle Up for Kids Foundation and the organization called Pro Football Alumni LLC, I am pleased to present a $500 gift certificate to our winner today. So we're thrilled to do that. And also, I can tell you, we're so impressed with what you're doing with this event and honoring Willie Thrower and the best quarterbacks from the region. We're going to step up and be a lot more involved next year. So.
Well, thank you so much, Charlie. Okay, Charlie, tell the folks in your organization how appreciative we are for that nice gift and your involvement moving ahead. Well, I think that'll about conclude it. Hey, you're welcome to hang around if you want. Don't forget to take a cupcake. And I will remind you that this luncheon will be on Westmoreland Sports Network. Just dial up www.westmorelandsports.com. And we thank them for their involvement in bringing this to basically everybody around the world today. Melvin? Thanks so much, Melvin. We'll get ready with the autographs.
I also want a shot of all the guys in the red jackets.
Okay.
Everybody that's...
All right. Those of us with the red jackets on the committee want to meet up here in the corner. And other than that, let's everyone have a good day. Thank you so much for coming. This was a great event, and next year we'll be around for the 3rd annual Willie Thrower Award.
Thanks, George.
Amy, thanks so much. Thanks for your out.
You know what? Last month I saw this video on Fox News. Jack Lambert got I see a YouTube last month. That was like a run. Yeah. You're going up there now. Oh. He was just there.